Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is things I learned with Ice Pangolier in 707. Unlike offlaners like Centaur, Earthshaker, Enigma that rely on boots to be slippery, Pangolier is all about being able to use his Q to get away or his W to get tankier and thus just run away later. So going for the Magic Wand build straight up makes sense when he could possibly be against 3 heroes. He does spend a lot of mana with his Q and W, and this hero has pretty decent armor and move speed early on, allowing you to trade well against most supports, as you can see here. The most iconic and I guess complicated skill this hero has is Swashbuckle. You first select the direction you want to end and then the direction you want your attacks to be aimed at. So in this first clip, IceIceIce clicks twice in the same place since he wants to attack Weaver and be close to her to keep right clicking later. While the iconic skill for Pango seems to be his Q, IceIceIce focuses on maxing Shield Crash. While Swashbuckle is a great skill when you're trying to push and farm waves, if you use Swash to farm, there's a chance to die to rotations when you don't have the cooldown to actually get away. With Shield Crash, you can farm the lanes relatively well while keeping your escape ready. During the laning phase, you can get less hits relatively well with 1 point in Swash anyways. Here you can see Ice harassing 3 hits with Earthshaker. As I said, this hero is great at it in the early game, and he ends up dealing damage and getting the CS with Swash. Without Quelling Blade, this hero can be quite hard to get less hits, especially under tower, so you can see that he offers interesting abilities. For instance, Ice clicks first on the direction of the creep not getting tower hit, and then towards the right creep, allowing him to get 1 CS and get position to less hit the other. Even though he misses. Swashbuckle deals physical damage, and armor scales way faster in the early and mid game than magic resistance, and you have to remember that the shield makes you tankier. One great thing about Pangolier's ult is that you don't take magic damage and you can dodge slow disables like Dark Willow's stun. He goes for it here, but be aware that if a stun or silence cancels your channel, the skill will be put on cooldown. Mirana ends up ulting, and pay attention to Ice's decision making. Now that Shadow Realm is on cooldown, he decided to dive Dark Willow. Since he maxes shield, the biggest chunk of damage is dealt at the beginning, while he's also taking reduced damage. On top of that, he can use his Q to finish the target off while he disengages. When if you actually max it, you will probably need to use it in the beginning, or else it's gonna be a very hard kill to get. In this case here, what you do is click away from the tower and the second click towards Dark Willow so you can actually damage her. Shield has huge radius, even though the animation doesn't look like it. It's actually bigger than Chronosphere, and while it doesn't seem like it, you can easily harass enemies and get less hits with it. One of the biggest things you can note when Ice is playing the hero is how much he tries to use Swashbuckle to get less hits and harass, to get kills and then disengage, to get less hits while moving forward. While the hero definitely feels underwhelming, it goes to show that playing him is about trying to abuse every little intricacy of his skills to be more effective. The hero has the ability to farm relatively well if you invest in mana regen and max the passive last. He gets a stack quite easily, as we can see here, and what people probably get wrong about this hero is that he is a great early game fighter. The way Ice plays here, in my opinion, is probably the best way to make use of the hero. While he's not fighting, he's pushing waves constantly and threatening towers, meaning he still has game impact and helps his team, but he only really starts choosing going to fight after finishing the Fusel Blade. Since he went Aquila, Raindrops, he has pretty much 7 mana regen, allowing him to keep being active in the map, shoving lanes while he gets online. When a fight starts close to him, he does engage, but pay attention how. First he ults from quite far away, tries to contribute as much as possible in boulder form, and then just disengages with Swashbuckle, and this is something the hero has. Kind of a low risk way to contribute in teamfights. You can see why leaving the passive to max last can be good. He has the ability to cast Swashbuckle during the fight, actually a lot of times during the fight, but still has cooldown to run away in the end, and the cooldown reduction in this skill is pretty high. With the Fusel Blade, you can see how his playstyle changes. As soon as a fight starts, he already goes to tire form, and you can see him using shield to go from the low ground to the high ground. In that form, you can't really deal a lot of damage after you use shield, so using your Q can be a good idea, but remember that it cancels your ult. Since he was alone in that spot, he has no risk doing it, and he finishes Earthshaker off. One thing to note is that when you need to cross more than one high ground area in your tire form, it can be very hard to do it. See how Ice gets stuck here without even noticing? Be wary of that and avoid ulting in narrow spaces resources or else you might get stuck. One of the best tools at your disposal as Pangolier is crossing cliffs and also having a relatively short form of magic immunity. It's always a good idea to use it from the fog when you're getting ganked, since as I stated before, your ult will be on cooldown if it gets interrupted, and the cast is pretty much 1 second. With that, he's able to navigate through the bramble maze, jump through the cliff, and if he needed, he could even swashbuckle through Roshan or another cliff to keep running away. This goes to show how this hero is probably one of the most slippery melee heroes in the game, right behind Slahser. The next item of choice, Ice, goes for his Blink Dagger, and while what you're about to witness is impressive, it goes to show why this hero feels underwhelming for most people. It's not often that you will be able to get so much out of your offlane, if you're not that good mechanically. He's actually top of the net worth in this game, which very rarely happens to your offlaner. But if you get these items in the correct timing, pay attention what you can do. Most people try to ult and initiate with Blink Dagger straight away, but against a nerf shaker, that's quite predictable unless you do it from the fog, and since he's already showing, that is also predictable. So he initiates with his Q from the fog, see how he's not showing, it's nighttime. So Earthshaker was not able to predict that and blink away, and now he ults and blinks on top of Earthshaker, and you can see how hard it is to maneuver this tire. Even then, he's able to kill Earthshaker quite easily. Another great use of Blink Dagger is defensively. Since you have magic immunity most of the time, you're able to engage aggressively with your boulder thing and blink away at the end. The item also allows you to keep farming, and this is the type of hero that needs to be ahead, so Blink Dagger definitely feels like wraps up this style of the hero. As you can see, there's a Dagger observer ward close to Ice, and he was feeling self-conscious about only Weaver showing even though mid was pretty pushed. This play is probably the best one when you feel scared in a game. You just ult from the fog and you try to disengage. Your ult is very low cooldown and was probably designed to be used both defensively and aggressively. It's also worth mentioning that most players go for MKB in the hero, while Maelstrom can proc kinda in the same way as MKB. When you use your Q, you need to remember that Maelstrom and Mjolnir have cooldowns and you attack so fast that you probably will not proc a lot of these. And MKB doesn't have a cooldown, so you can pretty much always one-shot creep waves with it. Ice goes for Basher later on, while Basher suffers from the same deficiency we mentioned on Maelstrom. If you're 1 versus 1, you pretty much have a guarantee bash, and a guarantee bash is way better than a guarantee lightning proc. On top of that, every proc deals 100 damage, which is reasonable, and you can eventually upgrade it to Abyssal Blade. Since you have Blink Dagger, it pretty much synergizes quite well, and as you get more and more proc items, this hero starts scaling a little bit. Another great point about the hero is that unlike Ember, for instance, you can hit invisible heroes. He takes Weaver down here, and you can start to see how this hero works in the mid and late game. That being said though, I'm not sure how much impact you would get out of this hero in an even game, and I mean, actually I know, if you just look at the win rates, it's pretty bad. I mean, of course this hero is kinda complicated, not everyone knows how to play it, but still, if you look at the 5k MR bracket, a lot of people are struggling with it as well. Don't let this footage trick you, for instance. In this clip you can see how safe Ice feels to get a sneaky kill on Dark Willow. He makes sure to stun her first, and then uses Swashbuckle to damage her while he disengages, and then even further with Blink Dagger. In order to do that, you click first the farthest away from Willow, and then you click in her direction while you blink away later. But I mean, he has so many items and he can't kill that support, you know? That's why the hero feels a little bit underwhelming. But I mean, if you want to play it, IceIceIce is probably one of the best players right now. During the siege, you can see that this build allows him to be annoying and stuff with blink, but there's not that much damage being done. Considering his top of the net worth, this hero does feel underwhelming, even though it seems pretty funny to be doing that. Eventually he ults and you can see the power of blink ult. He's able to disengage with Swash, and that guarantees them barracks. Look at this play during another fight that happened in the siege. He goes to the fog, and the disable from the tire with the burst damage from Swash gets a kill on a Weaver. Quite interesting. Well guys, this wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. My streaming schedule has changed. I'm now streaming pretty much at 4 PM US time, so if you're interested, you should probably tune in. I'm actually analyzing games during the downtime of each game, so if you want to have your game analyzed, I'm usually like analyzing 10 to 15 minutes of every game. There's this currency in my stream, and the more you watch, the more you get points, and during every game there's a raffle. Whoever wins the raffle gets whatever game they want analyzed. So I mean, if you're interested, check it out. I'm actually partnered with Gamer Sensei now, so if you want a bigger coaching session, you can get lessons from me. So just check it out. It's a pretty good service. As of always, this channel is sponsored by Pvgna. Those guys have a lot of new 707 videos. You should definitely check it out. There's also Oracle, a new service that actually analyzes your games and compares you with different MMR brackets so that you know what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. It's pretty nice. All the links are in the description.